Want to call the meeting to order. I want to welcome everybody to your POA Board's monthly meeting. And as I announced last month, we've returned to our pre-COVID protocols, and we're welcoming property owners to attend in person up to the room capacity of 60. We're still live streaming and recording the meetings, so thanks to you for attending today, whether in person or via the live stream. Quick reminder about our process. As the board works through each agenda item, I'll ask for board comments and questions first. Once that is complete, I will ask for comments or questions from those in attendance or those on the live stream. If an item is to be voted on, there will be a request for a motion and a second from the board, followed by board discussion. Prior to the actual vote, I will ask for audience comments. To facilitate audience participation, I ask that you step to the podium and use the microphone so that your comments can be picked up on the live stream. Comments from live stream participants will be relayed to those in the room by the POA communications personnel that are present. When we get to the part of the meeting titled Other on the agenda, I will first ask board members if they have other non-agenda items to discuss. Once that is completed, I will ask members of the audience if they have items that they wish to address to the board. And I do have one other announcement. Recently, the village's trash collector, Santec, was sold to Republic Services. The POA was not aware of this impending change until after it had occurred. Our trash services will not change as Republic has assumed their contract. Your pickup day remains the same, and both trash carts and recyclers will be picked up on the same day, despite what was recently claimed on Nextdoor. The only visible change will be that you'll be invoiced by Republic Services instead of Santec. Public Works Management has been meeting with the new company's leadership to make sure that they understand our expectations, and Republic has told us that they will be communicating with property owners who are on auto pay shortly. If you have issues with your trash service, you can contact them directly at 865-270-6005. With that, I want to go ahead and get started with the agenda. I'll first address the minutes from the May 19th, 2021 meeting. These minutes were not submitted for approval on June 16th, as there were not enough eligible voting members present to constitute a quorum. That is still true today because 3 of the members that are sitting today were not at the meeting on the 19th. So these minutes will be deferred for approval until the August meeting, and hopefully we'll have 4 voting members. So the next agenda item, I need a motion to approve the June 16th, 2021 TVPOA Board meeting minutes as presented. Motion. Sue? I need a second.
Second.
Marty? And discussion, changes. There being no further discussion, all in favor? 6-0. The next item on the agenda is the CEO's operations update. Now, I need to tell you that the CEO, who's sitting right here, oh, no, he's not, has actually been summoned to Nashville to address a committee, and that happened at the last minute. So as a result, he will not be making the operations report, but in his stead will be our Chief Operating Officer, Mitzi Lane. Earlier this year, we asked the CEO to do a quarterly operations update for the board. Additionally, we asked him to give an update to that report each month between the quarterly reports. Today's report is a full operations update. So with that, Mitzi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rick. Members of the board, I can't believe it's already July. We were just talking about that at lunch, how this year has really flown by in comparison to last year while we were all cooped up in our houses. So I'm glad to see you. What I would like to do today, I'm going to talk a little bit about Recreation Department, what they have going on, our Public Works Department, the golf update. I'll hit the highlights in marketing, food service, because the marketing and food service departmental managers will be giving you a full detailed report later on in this meeting. So I think you'd rather hear from them and be able to ask them the questions. So getting right into it, in recreation, our membership is back up. The household memberships are hovering around the pre-pandemic numbers, which is about 100 more to go to get to where we were pre-pandemic. The individual memberships are actually exceeding the pre-pandemic numbers. The usage has been higher in group fitness than it was in pre-pandemic. The usage of Chota is now on full blast with the outdoor pool being open, and we have 104 groups who are meeting there. The wellness center usage is getting close to pre-pandemic numbers at this time of year. Many of you are aware of the Tennessee Orthopedic Clinic, the TOC, the lady Jenna that has moved into the exercise room to provide the athletic training services and answer questions from members. Now that, after COVID has kind of lightened up around here, she's back in the facility, as well as a company called Select Physical Therapy Aquatics. They have offered a therapy program for us that we use with the therapy pool. They also offer a free injury assessment in the pool to all of our residents. This has been a very successful program, just right off the gates of or off the heels of COVID as well. They recently held 2 successful summer camps. These have been the first ones after the pandemic. We are in process right now for the Timeless Teleco project, which is the pickleball court project, and that is in bid process right now. They have sold some naming rights for the flagpoles for $7,500. One of the big things that we're looking at that's actually a part of continuous improvement is they are progressing forward on the club automation system, which will allow online registration and members access recreation through an application, through an app you can use on your phone or the computer system. That launch date is August 15th. Simon and team has said, be looking for that in the communication in the recreation constant contact, as well as our telegram that we do here through Beth's department. We are now offering 85 group fitness classes per week. That is a record, more than we have ever offered, COVID or not. That's just a record in general. Simon is now teaching sunrise yoga at the yacht club each Monday at 7:15. It's open to all residents and their guests, no fee. It is actually out on the grassy area sometimes, depending on the weather. If the grass may be wet, they have also done it on the dock out there where you typically see weddings, the big white tent. So it's a great atmosphere for all of you yoga fans. The kayaks and paddleboard classes are in full swing. We joked this morning, but board member Carla Johnson said as soon as this meeting's over, she's going paddleboarding. We recently
If you haven't looked at the agenda, you won't have much time after this meeting.
Two quick things on recreation, and I'll be done with that department. But we recently offered a very successful RAD women's self-defense class to the community at no charge. We talked about that a little bit in our managers meeting. It was just a great class that, anyone that wanted to sign up, any female. We're thinking of doing the same type thing at the POA office, and we may, if we have openings, kind of put that out there as well. Apparently it was well received, a very good class, and the females very much appreciated it. And Jaden, who is Simon's right-hand man at the Wellness Center, many of you have met Jaden. He recently completed the AFO Pool Operator Certification. So our recreation department is just full blast, as I think pretty much each department, as you'll hear as we get on through these. Public Works Department, let's move on into there. They're actually getting ready for a huge paving project. There will actually be an approval request coming later in today's meeting to the board from the Public Works Department. And then at that time, the actual date will be set, if it is approved, as to, when this project will start. But the main ones would be the Kahiti entrance and exit. That's going to be a huge deal. The exiting, like the Tokwa Clubhouse parking lot, and then a part of the Tokwa parking lot expansion. So be looking for that. And of course, like I said, we'll talk about it today in the finance report. Then we're also getting ready for an asphalt sealing and rejuvenation project. That is on schedule to start the second week of August. Again, look for the communication on that. Clayton has let me know that communication typically comes out 1 week before the location. So you'll just be looking for that, and you'll have a week's advance to prepare. But that asphalt sealing and rejuvenation will be Kahiti, Mialakwa, Tokwa Coves, Chota Woods, Tanassi Hills, Chota Shores, Tanassi Clubhouse parking lot, the Yacht Club parking lot, crack sealing, patching, and pulling in shoulders. So that's all wrapped into that one sealing and rejuvenation project. Another project that Public Works has recently completed is the PWC lifts were put in. We've had 10 new units and we've had 10 replacement units. The new units went in the Yacht Club Basin and the Kahidi Basin, and then in Tanasi were our replacements. Clayton and team have started the final phase of the street signpost replacement. That was huge back when we first started the initiative of first appearance, and we thought, hey, these signs need replaced, they need updated, they need modernized. So we're on our final phase of that. I would remind everybody at this point, as you see signs throughout the village with our help spot ticketing system, feel free to stick those in there as well. We had recently received just a suggestion that they weren't even Telco Village signs, they're actually T-Dot signs, but going down the parkway right before you get into our entrance here at Sequoia Road, just some of those signs with the arrows that we felt like, gosh, our signs look great. Now these main 444 signs are crooked, and we wanted those to kind of be spruced up. So we reached out to T-Dot along with our Public Works guys who helped straighten some of those up. So there again, when it comes to first impression initiative, feel free to stick those ideas and suggestions in the Help Spot program as well, because we can track it that way and know when the signs have been replaced or maintenance has been done in those areas. They are moving, this is Public Works still, moving forward with the pickleball courts, and they are in the bid phase. They are actually working with our recreation department, but again, that's in the bid phase. They are working on water and sewer studies with Jacob Engineering. And as Rick already mentioned, Clayton and team met with Republic, which, who used to be Santec, and he's been discussing with them their customer service. We've had, complaints and just comments in general come in from our property owners on the Help Spot ticket system as well as phone calls. And, we wanted to talk to them about they're getting new phone lines. We want to make sure that's communicated to all of our property owners. Their auto pay system, make sure every bit of that is communicated to our property owners, and any other services that they may provide, such as recycling. So what we will have is either I guess the very next telegram that goes out, or it could be Beth's board meeting report, but Clayton has prepared a little communication piece to go along with that to send to Beth. So be looking for that. Then real quick, put on my HR, put in my plug. We do need employees in Public Works. If you know anybody or have family in the area, we're looking for some temporary housekeeping positions. We have water sewer openings. Our streets department has an opening, and our landscaping has an opening. So if you or someone you know is interested, we welcome. Just like all the companies you see right now, we too are kind of having a hard time to get those positions filled. Next, we'll go into golf, our golf update. I see that Wells is in the back. Thank you, Wells, for being here. Chris Sykes is on vacation. Our golf rounds continue at a record rate. Rounds in June were again 2,500 over budget, and we are now some 15,299 over budget year to date. The rounds have also exceeded 2020 and are 7,469 ahead of our previous record year. So kudos to golf. I know you guys are killing it out there. The revenues remain well over budget. Expenses are well under budget. The rounds are driving the revenue, and the primary savings are related to the ongoing staffing shortage. So did I mention already we are having staffing shortage in Public Works and of course in golf as well. The new Kahidi carts have been implemented, and immediate positive impact on the operation. We expect the carts at Tokwa and Tanasi later this summer. These drastically improve the quality of the operation and just the overall golf experience. We recently concluded our two largest golf events of the season. One was the Red-Tailed Hawk Invitational, and then the Junior Golf Camp. These were both a success, and the credit goes out to all the golf maintenance team and then the supporting committees that helped with that. The courses all remain in pristine condition, and the Kahidi Bunker project is exceeding expectations. This project is a little past halfway point, and that is ahead of the schedule. And this project will prove to be one of the most impactful in the history of Tellico Village Golf. Actually, my next report after each of these that I'm doing for the operations report, when I get into my CI report, I will also show you some photos from our golf maintenance departments, things that they are doing in addition to what I just mentioned on this list. Now I'd like to get into marketing. Again, I don't want to steal Beth's thunder. She's had a wonderful month, actually just a wonderful first 2 quarters. But June was very busy. We had 118 discovery requests versus 81 for last year. They completed 88 tours, 52 last year, same time frame. The Welcome Center traffic was 1,142 visitors versus 1,025 a year ago. And the POA lots sold 152 versus 56 this time last year. So very impressive numbers. And of course, Beth will go into a lot more detail with the different programs that she has, her revenues coming in and that type of thing. And then, as I mentioned earlier, Andy is going to go into a detailed food and beverage update in just a few moments. And getting back to HR and the employees needed, just to let you know, the cleaning crews position that I mentioned, I don't know if I told you, but they are temporary. So there again, if you or somebody is interested in those, we have a couple of people who are out temporarily. So we're just looking for somebody that might be interested in part-time helping us on that. So. And that concludes the report that I have for you today.
Any questions from the board?
I have one.
Okay.
Mitzi, you mentioned the water and sewer study. Can you?
Mm-hmm. And I have to defer to Clayton on that. You are working with the Jacobs Engineering Company currently on that. Can you come to a microphone there, Clayton, and explain exactly what you're doing?
Welcome to my web, said the spider to the fly.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Yes, the water study will be concluded Monday. We'll be having our workshop Monday with Jacobs Engineering. And what we were doing, that study will tell us where we need those new booster pumps to be installed in our system for when Loudon Utilities gets all of their upgrades made. So we're doing that to get ahead, where we can go ahead, get pumps ordered. That way Loudon Utilities isn't waiting on us. So I think we've made great progress on that. Sewer study, it should be wrapped up by the end of August. So that'll let us know what we need to do to upgrade in their lift stations if we need to do some upgrades.
So these pumps that you mentioned, they're the ones that are in the budget for this year that we're making or that we're doing instead of the new water tank that we had talked about up in Coyote at one point. Correct?
That's correct.
And so with that and all the subsequent pumps, I think it's in there for 2 years now, and then another one for like 2030. We will have enough water capacity and pressure to handle build out, correct?
Correct. That is our goal.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions from the board? Comments from the audience? Yes. The board recognizes Cap Purvis.
Thanks, Bob. Clayton, I know that part of the Jacobs study, and we had one a couple of years ago, but as I understand it, what we're waiting for, we have in the budget, we have a couple pumping stations that we're waiting, i.e. for the Jacobs report, so that we can get started with engineering those and hopefully getting them online. When do you anticipate working with the committee to engineer those pumping stations and perhaps bring them forward for approval?
Well, PSAC will be involved in the meeting when we meet with Jacobs for a workshop to review this engineering study. This engineering study will tell us where the pumps need to be located and what size pumps. All that is included in this study. So when we meet Monday, we should know, and I've had a preliminary meeting with him. I know where they need to go, but I'm gonna wait until we sit down with PSAC and go over this. But we have a good plan, not just for what we have now, but for the future. And we looked at if we buy some land outside the borders of the village, what we need to do to be able to meet the water demand.
So do you have a somewhat definitive date, i.e. end of summer, beginning of fall?
That
winter?
depends on delivery dates of pumps. So pretty soon we will be ordering pumps. So as soon as we can get those pumps in, we will start getting those into our system.
And how long do you anticipate I know you don't have the specs yet, but do you have any idea? I know we built the pumping station, you know, for the, in Coety. Do you have any idea approximately, in case my neighbors ask?
You talking about specs for that?
Well, just
Or
to
you talking
get,
about-
I know you've got to get the engineering, then you can get the specs, then you have to put it out to bid, then you have to build it. So hopefully we can get it done this year, so. I
Oh,
guess-
that's our goal. We don't want Loudon Utilities waiting on us. We want to be ahead of them. So we're gonna move forward as soon as possible. You know, I can't throw out a date on
Okay.
pumps, but yes, as soon as we can get those, we're gonna order them.
Yeah, I realize there's a lot of things that have to happen before I even can flip a switch.
Yeah, but we know what size pumps and everything we need, so
All
we'll
right.
be ready to order next
Thanks.
week.
Bruce, you had a comment?
Just to comment, Clayton had mentioned it, this is in conjunction with the new contract that we have with LUB. LUB is in the process of doing their improvements now. They've awarded contracts, or they're in the process of awarding, to include upgrades to their tank, et cetera, so, or build a new tank. Their goal is to have that done by end of second quarter next year.
Okay.
Our goal is to have our pumps in place when they bring their new equipment online. So we have now until like the end of second quarter of next year to get this done. Obviously, with the study and all, and it being in our budget, we can go ahead and put these pumps in and use it in our current system, and we'll be ready for them.
Yeah, that's our plan. As soon as we get to go ahead, we're gonna order these pumps. As soon as they come in, we're gonna get them in. So we plan on being way ahead of LUB.
Thanks, Clayton.
You're welcome.
Any other comments from the audience? Okay, thanks, Clayton.
Thank you, Clayton.
So next on the agenda would be the Public Works building replacement.
Ellsworth, if you don't mind, you and Clayton will both have to tag team that one. There's not a whole lot of progress since the last time we've discussed it, but I know that Clayton's chomping at the bit to get that building going.
Two victims now.
So, February 3rd, 2021, just wanted y'all to see this huge disaster. It's a big loss for Public Works and POA.
The towering inferno.
Yes, sir. If you see the big shop, so we got a shed in the back, the big shop, and then the black roof there closest to Davis Ferry, that is where the old building was located. So, yeah, that was it. So, and the blue is where we would like to put the new building. That would give us more room for parking and entering and exiting the Public Works shop. To where the old building was, it made it, we were limited on access getting in and out, which is not a great location. So under that building was asphalt, so we don't need to do anything to the parking lot. We cleaned it up when Public Works cleaned up that burnt building, so now we have a good parking lot there. But like I said, we would locate the new building at the blue area where it says new building. We have a floor plan for that new building. This is just like the other one. This wouldn't be the color. The colors would be to match the Public Works shop materials, colors. That way everything will look the same. But that was just a rendering of a building that they had, just sort of where you could kind of get a look of it. This would be the floor plan of it. We have a conference room. The other one didn't. This is the same floor plan, just tweaked a little bit. It's the same exact size. The one that we had that burnt was a 36 by 60. This is a 36 by 60. We put a conference room in here to where we can have meetings in there. There'll be another meeting room to where someone can use that. We could do ACC meetings there or PSAC meetings there if we needed to. And then other people could use it too, so.
Would you explain exactly, Clayton, where the door, the actual main entrance that the property owners and staff would come in and out of that building?
It's right there at the reception, right above the reception. There's a door there. And this floor plan doesn't show it, but where the window is in the conference room, there will be a door right there also. to where you can just go straight into that conference room. And we wanted it there for egress in case something happened, they could quickly get out of the conference room too.
So Clayton, I see all these titles and all that. Does that mean all those positions that we have now in the admin building will be moving over there?
Yes, sir. That way it would give more room in the POA office for expansion, because right now they're limited on room.
So if somebody wants to put in a permit request, they would now go to this building?
Yes, sir.
Let me take the mic, Clayton. Just to update the board and the community on the insurance. Obviously, our insurance had full replacement cost. We received initial funds right out of the gate for building replacement as well as contents. And we had a full list of, bless you, probably about 80 different assets that were damaged or lost in the fire. We had some damage to one of the vehicles, Ford Edge. That was taken care of under the policy as well. So we received those initial funds. I worked with the insurance company. They determined what a replacement cost would be for that, less depreciation, or what they call depreciation. And then as we replace things like IT equipment, network copiers, we matched up, my department matched up the actual invoices to the insurance company's detailed list, and they gave us additional funds to match the invoice. So the POA is not out any funds whatsoever related to the loss. The building, even though, Clayton showed February 3rd as the date of the loss, it has been a while to get that building replaced. We had originally reached out to the original manufacturer of the building that was existing there, and since that time, Loudoun County has changed their building inspections, and that building would no longer be allowed under the new code in Loudoun County. So we had to go through additional bids to get some quotes for buildings. I worked with Clayton and the insurance company. The new bid was quite a bit higher than the old one by about $50,000. So initially, the insurance company thought that they could work with the architect to get plans that comply with the Tennessee building code. That didn't happen, and the insurance company gave up and sent us a check for the higher amount, said go with the $224,000 building, which is what Clayton just showed you. So where we stand at this point, we have requested formal building plans from the manufacturer that comply with Tennessee codes. Clayton will, once he receives those in about a week and a half, will sit down with Loudoun County and make sure that the building inspector is fine with that proposed building, the site, whether or not the foundations are appropriate for that size building and structure. And then the building will get on order, and the manufacturer is already aware, obviously, with the floor plan and the layout. So we're not expecting a long delay between inspector approval and building delivery. The manufacturer has already come out, met with me and Clayton on the job site. She's aware of how they would get those building sections in and connected. So things are progressing fine there. So all in all, it's just over $300,000 for the total loss of the building.
Comments, questions from the board?
Any comments from the audience? There being none, you may return.
Sir.
Okay, the next agenda item is our mid-year continuous improvement report.
Thank you. Yes, this will be our Q1 and Q2 update. A lot of the projects that we have going on right now, many of you are aware of as the managers kind of keep us abreast of what they've got going on. But I wanted to highlight some in each department. If we can go to the next one, we'll start with recreation. This was an Eagle project by Adam Dean with the Boy Scout Troop 354. The troop is out of Central United Methodist Church in Lenoir City. He constructed 2 picnic tables with the help of other scouts and installed the table at the kiosk at the Wellness Center. Now I go up there and walk quite a bit, and I've seen this, but it didn't dawn on me, gosh, how did we get this picnic table? And so after talking with Simon, you will see areas throughout the village, even over in Kahidi, where we have villagers who will donate their time and the funds to, create projects such as this. And so, Simon and I decided we just wanted to recognize them and thank them. All these village enhancements that we get, a lot of times we don't realize that somebody, put their blood, sweat, and tears in that and donated their time and their funds to do this. And so we thank them for that. One more before we go to the next slide. The select physical therapy, as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to let you know what Simon had actually given me some input on that. The residents' medical insurance actually pays for them to have aquatics therapy with the convenience of being in the village, and they can continue what they've learned from their therapist on their own time here within the Tellico Village Wellness Facility. Select Physical Therapy also offers the free aquatic injury assessment that I mentioned earlier. It takes us up a few notches to a more medical-based wellness center than just a workout gym. And the one thing that I wanted to mention that is a part of CI and new projects and products bringing into the villagers a service that we're providing is that this particular company actually gives us revenue for doing the program. We just received a check covering the time period from January until July in the amount of $1,300. This was partially during COVID numbers, and the numbers are rising throughout this program. So Simon is seeing an increase in that. And we just encourage people that if you need it, be aware of it and take advantage of it. Next, I want to get into some golf maintenance enhancements, golf course projects. This right here was submitted by Jordan Clark. This is at Kahidi. You see the clubhouse in the back there. And what this is a sod project that they've got. And this is actually the words of Jordan because I wanted to get his thoughts on filling in all of these areas with the sod that they have. He said when they built the golf course in Kahidi, they grassed as much as they could. However, Kahidi is very large property, and it would have costed a fortune to put in grass on the entire golf course construction. So the areas along the out-of-bounds markers have always been dirt, and in the winter especially, because nothing is growing at that time. And then the summer weeds kind of take over, and that's the tall that you see there on the edges. The second, reasoning he would have for this is things that, let me go back, things either nothing is growing at that time, or when the summer weeds are alive. So they sodded as much as they could and just called it good. Then it says, used the springing method or hydro seed to fill in the blanks, as this would be much cheaper if budget was an issue. Again, a very big piece of the property, so he said he can't blame them for that decision, that's what they did just to get that grassy area filled in. He said another fault we have is our irrigation coverage. We are lacking everywhere, especially along the out of bounds. So the sprigging or hydro seeding method is a huge risk. He said, I'm not saying that's impossible, but it would be difficult without that water available. So since he's been at Kahidi during his tenure here, he has slowly picked away at these areas with sodding them. And he said, we're getting very close to eliminating all those areas. The bunker project gave them a huge step forward, and once the established sod grass is down intact, it will survive and they can grow anything in those areas. So those of you who are golfers maybe have seen this and you knew what this was, and those of us who are not golfers, now we know. It just makes sense for the golf maintenance guys. So if we'll go to the next one, I want to show you some projects. These are from Tokwa Golf Maintenance. Superintendent John North. This is the yellow tee box. You see the before, the during, and the after. They actually used aeration cores to fill in their bare patches throughout the course, and I just wanted you to see that.
again, if you're a golfer, you've probably noticed, wow, that's filled in. Or maybe if you're an avid golfer, I think Miss Cox is here on the front row. When we talked, I think she golfs every single day. But you know, a lot of times there again, if you're in an area quite a bit, sometimes you don't notice these things. You just keep going. But this is a big project that they had, and because they could use those cores, talk about a savings. You know, we weren't having to buy any grass seed per se. We were able just to use the cores from the aerification project. So kudos to those guys. Same course, except this is number 3 green tee box. You'll see there where they filled in. And we'll go on. We'll skip quickly, Shannon. The next slide, same type scenario there. You'll see. And then this project is a little bit different. This was number 12 yellow tee, and it was unlevel and in the fairway. So they actually elevated it and made it into a level tee box. So those of you that play there, again, I think that's kind of cool because now the tee box is elevated. But just another in-house project. These guys are consistently working on these enhancements on these courses. Now, if you'll go to our marketing department, again, as I mentioned, Beth is going to go into a very detailed marketing report shortly, so I don't want to get in her way. But just a brief update on those POA board newsletters. Someone had specifically asked me, okay, now that we've gone electronic, they're always digital, what kind of open rate do we have? So if you notice the second bullet point down, we actually have 2 audiences. There's a Telegram list, and then there's a digital newsletter. The Telegram list is delivered to 4,943 with 2,962 people opening it, which is a 59.9% open rate. The digital is delivered to 1,724 with 1,195 opening it, which is 71.6. By utilizing the digital option alone is a savings of $2,400, and that's for her Q1. Another thing I'd like to mention that Beth didn't actually put in here, but we actually have now the exact data to see who opens it. You know, a lot of times if you get a mailing at home, it can get thrown away or, you know, damaged, and so people just don't read it. And now we can see specifically how many people are opening these particular newsletters. So I thank Beth for that. I think it, again, just keeping up with technology, modernizing our software and being able to use that. And then the last thing, which it's funny, we've talked about it several times today in the executive session and now, is our Help Spot ticket system. Huge success. Thank you to all the board members who supported us on that. As I mentioned previously, we went live August the 19th. Since that time, the POA has answered 1,882 tickets. We've received 145 post-ticket closing surveys with a positive rating of 88%. Members' feedback continues to be extremely positive about the value of the ticketing system and the quick responses. Now, in a moment, we'll get into that, and I'll talk about actually some of the survey results and why some of the negative results that we've received. But if you go to the next slide, this is very, very, very small. Don't want you to even worry about trying to read it. The point of showing you this is the last time I gave a Help Spot ticket update, I mentioned that there are various reports that our dashboard can give us. And so I wanted to show you a new flavor of reports that's totally different from the last set of reports that I'd given you. This shows you on the right-hand side, I can get a real quick snapshot of exactly how many people have turned those in. So since 2021, just January, what I gave you in the first slide was just in general since August. But since January, we've received 951 tickets. And then just beside the red circle, the straight line down, what that is a daily number. And we like to look at that internally to say, you know, gosh, what was going on the 15th? And maybe there was a huge water leak, or maybe there was a, you know, major storm that came in and there was some drainage issues or what have you. We noticed the other day Kahidi had an internet outage and that blew up huge. So we like to look at it on a daily basis to see what is it? What was that? You know, was it a full moon? What's going on? All right, so the next slide, obviously very self-explanatory, but just to give you an idea, we like to look at the categories as well. Lands, streets, and brush is the #1 Help Spot ticket. That is our busiest group of staff that are answering the tickets. ACC code coming in next, then ACC other. billing questions, and docs, but just to give you an idea. And then even, some smaller pieces of the pie when it gets into the admin department and different areas like marketing. But wanted to just give you a flavor of this is the big piece of the pie. And then the last slide here is the surveys. And again, it's very small, you can't read. You see the number 88, that is the percentage of positive. But we have actually received 202 positive and 27 negative. As a follow-up to any negative feedback, Kevin Alfont, who is our IT manager, reaches out to each and every property owner and tries to find out whether it's by email or phone, however we can contact them, and follow up on those negative responses in the beginning. And we're keeping them in here, and we'll address those if somebody asks why so many negative. But in the beginning, we would send a response to the property owner in the HelpSpot ticket system, and the survey would get to them before our response. So the people would immediately write back and be very negative and say, well, we've not heard a word. And that made sense. And so Kevin Alfont had followed up and tweaked that. And we even have one department that we asked them not to close their tickets out at all until we know that everything has been taken care of, because once they close that ticket, that survey automatically gets sent right out. So we've done what we can to tweak that. There have been a few complaints where it was like, the ticket may have said, we have taken care of your issue, thank you, have a nice day. And the property owner with valid, concern has said, what did you do to take care of my complaint? So we've addressed that with staff. Yes, you can specifically say we've taken care of your complaint, but what did you do? And when did you do it? And that's so much better. And so we've really worked internally on getting those tickets not only completed and taken care of, but in the most efficient manner that we can. And so as a part of our CI program, it's been wonderful. I think one of the biggest things that when this first came out, the board had suggested is just having that data to back up. And if somebody comes back a year later, we can research it. And here's what we did, and here's how we did it, and who did it. And it's wonderful for us. So again, we appreciate, everybody's support on that program. And the final slide I want to show, this shows you January through June where we are with our savings. At the very top, it says in 2020, the POA managers and staff presented the POA board with a check in the amount of $170,000. That was real dollars, CI savings. So for this year, for 2021, we have actually kept that same goal of $170,000 in real dollars. So I want you to notice $166,808. That was where we are through June, first quarter, second quarter. That does not take into consideration efficiency savings, time savings. So this is not what I would consider real dollars. However, with the new pavement preservation project coming on this fall, we as the management team in our managers meeting had discussed a little bit yesterday. We feel like there's going to be no problem coming up with the full goal of $170,000 this year for our CI savings to be able to present to the board to put into the reserve accounts. And I don't think I have any additional slides. I will, of course, question and answer. We'll go to that first. So I'll be back for one final slide before food service. But
So does anybody on the board have questions for Mitzi?
I do. We've done this in the past, but how do you sign up for HelpSpot?
you can actually go to any page on the Tellico Village website, and there's a HelpSpot link on there. And you don't sign up for HelpSpot, you just click on it and go in there, and it'll ask you what is your issue, and you put your name in and phone number, email address, however you would like for us to reach back to you, you know, as far as in addition to the ticket.
One of the things that we talked about this morning, Carla brought up with some of the people in Kahiti that I've seen as well. You don't have to know who to call. You don't have to know what department to look up. You don't have to know, is it this person?
Their extension.
Would they be busy or they're, you know, that drives me nuts to call the POA office and can't get through. So you don't really know anything. All you do is get on the website, or you can access it still through the Telegram, I think, every Tuesday. So you could just scroll back in an email, click on that, and just
right to your heart's content what the issue is. And then you're required, running this program, because you get reports, to show what the access, the close, the response, and then a satisfaction survey. So it's really, really easy.
Additional thing I didn't mention, but is internally, we'll print those reports. Beth, myself, and Kevin Alfont are the moderators, and we will get on there and assign those tickets because we know what department you need to be, speaking with. A lot of times, if it's a weekend, Beth and I know the answers. Sometimes even Kevin will know the answer. We will answer the question and copy that particular manager or staff member on the help spot ticket, but go ahead and close it out and get that person answered. Just because it's easy for us, it comes right to our phone. But one thing we do is we'll print the printout of all the open tickets and say, okay, guys, Clayton, you've got 10 open tickets. What's the holdup? And really, find out, what are we waiting on? And, maybe he's called the property owner, but their issue isn't quite resolved yet, so we haven't put anything in there in the ticket. Same for Kevin Alfont. Kevin Alfont is our IT manager, but we use it internally. If my computer's not working, I create a ticket and I send it to Kevin Alfont. And then that way he has keeps track of, who's contacted me and what kind of issues have we had internally with our systems, our computers. So with that said, that's one thing I failed to mention, but we print that report quite a bit internally and say, hey, we've got 20 open tickets. What's the status so that we know?
But I'm new here, and I really don't want to bother anybody, but I saw something today that I don't understand. Should they, or should they?
Absolutely. That's absolutely what we would like for you to do.
Okay, good.
I mean, and in addition to call, we still take phone calls as well, but that's just a very easy way to do it. You can submit your ticket, go play golf, go to the restaurant, come back. Chances are your ticket will be answered.
Good.
Yeah.
One of the really nice features about that too is if, it used to be if you called and you talked to somebody and they said, oh, well, I'm not the right person to talk to, you need to talk to the person. Now you have to tell your story all over again. Well, even if multiple employees have to get involved, your story's already told, and you have a record of that. So it just makes it streamlines the process.
Any other questions from the board for Mitzi? Comments from the audience? Okay, we'll move right on. Mitzi, I think you're going to talk to us about.
We're actually going to go on to Beth, and that's
Okay.
what I was going to say. I've got one more informational piece to talk to you about the online alcohol sales, but I'll do that right before Andy, because that'll lead right into food service.
Okay, fair enough.
Hello.
That sounded so ominous.
All right, so we are going to be doing first half 2021 performance, major first half 2021 initiatives, and then a balanced outlook for 2021. And I have with me for the first time in a long time my marketing gurus, Fred and Joe, so they will be answering questions live and in color. They're in color. All right, so we're going to jump on in. As always, I have a lot of numbers, and these slides will be posted online after this presentation, so you'll be able to really dig into them. Beginning of March of 2020, obviously COVID impacted nearly every part of life in America and all over the world, and especially in Tellico Village and the marketing program and performance. Although many of the second quarter shortfalls were overcome by the second half of 2020, it would still be pretty misleading for me to compare this year's numbers versus last year's numbers. So what we have done is added in 2019 as well, so you can see it over more of a normal year, I would say. So on discovery visits, these are people who have requested to come in either to stay our 2-night package or for a day tour. We have had 550 so far this year, and that's up 90% over 2020. And then for discovery visits, these are actually tours we have completed already this year. We had 322, and that is up 137 versus 2020. And you can see 2019, so I'm not going to sit here and say a bunch of numbers, but up on all aspects, 19 and 20. For database leads, 1,790, which is up 23% versus last year. And then cost per lead, pretty happy with this at $47.92. You can see last year we were down 33%, but that's because we actually redid our whole entire marketing website, which is pretty expensive, so we knew that was going to make our cost per lead up. But then if you look at 2019, which is a more normal year, we're still down 13%. So the new website's most definitely helped in efficiencies, and as more and more people look for places to live online, it's really important that our website is built and our SEO is really good. For total MLS sales, these are sales that are on the market by realtors. They actually go through the MLS system. 225 homes and lots were sold in 19, and then in 2020, 205, which is up 54%. You can see that the biggest jump for both years is lot sales, and that's due to a lower inventory on homes.
So, are you capturing, what's the word, for sale by owner?
No, if for sale by owners don't go through MLS, then they would not be reflected in here.
You have any idea how many for sale by owners we have?
No, it's almost, the only way we would know is as Ashley goes through and does all the new owner packets, we do get copies of those so we can look them back. So sometimes someone might have bought for sale by owner. We'll capture the sale, but we don't know if they bought through MLS or if they bought for sale by owner. We just know that they bought something.
Yeah, I think we've all heard the stories. You go put a for sale sign and you got it sold before you go back inside.
Yep.
A number of our friends have been the same way. They sold it, not gone through a real estate agent. And I was just curious,
Yep.
how many of those are hanging out there?
I'm sure there are several, but there's still an awful lot using MLS as well,
Sure,
as you can
absolutely.
see, 315. For program sales, these are sales that we can trace directly back to the marketing efforts, and we go through great lengths, as I've told you for years, to do that. We had 184 of those so far this year, and that's up 44% versus 19 and up 29% versus 2020. And again, you'll see lot sales have increased dramatically. Residential property values are coming in at $192.06 per square foot, and that's up 27% versus 2020, and up 26 versus 2019. The median household price right now is $445,000, which is up 21% and 24% the year ago. So really good. POA lot sales, as Mitzi mentioned, we've already closed, completed 152 POA lot sales this year, and we have another 100 pending that will close within the next few months. That is a 166% increase over 2020 and a 69% increase total over all lots sold last year. So moving in the right direction, and that goes again back to low inventory. If there's no houses for people to buy, they're being forced to build. And you'll see in a second why that's so important to the POA and the marketing in general. First half POA net marketing ROI, the dramatic increase in POA lot sales has been a primary contributor to our first quarter all-in marketing for a net marketing revenue of $1.1 million. I'll say that again, $1.1 million. Total marketing revenue is 1.4. Total marketing costs and expenses come in just under $300,000 for a net marketing investment of 4 times. This is the first time that all-in net marketing has exceeded $1 million. And we're pretty proud of that. And this does a breakdown. I know it's kind of an eye chart to see, but we go into more detail of where some of that revenue came from: contractor revenue, realtor revenue, some advertising revenues that we do. A big chunk of it obviously is POA lot sales, the revenue from that, the POA lot assessment revenue, and then the fees that we can directly track back to the marketing program through other aspects of our operation, like ACC, water fees, connection, that type of thing. And then on the expense side, we take into all expenses, salaries and benefits of the employees that are tied to the marketing program, electricity, phone, building maintenance, and entrance on the Welcome Center, and depreciation. And then we take into account all POA lots, the taxes for the whole year, and then Public Works and ACC oversight. We're paying people obviously to do those jobs, and we need to take that out if we're going to add some other revenue in, which brings us to the net marketing revenue of, like I said, $1.1 million. I think we should do a dance or something. Also important for property owners to understand is, what's the ROI of this for them? Over the last 4.5 years, the average per home equity increase is $140,000, which is up 36%. This is 4.5-year equity increase translates to a realized $20 million and an unrealized $685 million for Tellico Villagers, which is pretty impressive as well. First half conclusions, Tellico Village has fully capitalized on an extremely strong first half real estate market with 2 exceptions. Every marketing metric shows double-digit growth versus 19 and 20 performance. The POA lot sales triple-digit growth. MLS residential sales are up 3% versus 2019. I think that would be a lot higher if we had the inventory. There's only 15 homes on the market when we did this report and updated it just a couple of days ago. And that's in all price points, 15 homes. And most of those homes are actually unfinished spec homes that you couldn't even move into yet if you wanted to. The first half's return on marketing investments are exceptional for both Tellico Village property owners and the POA. Some of our major first half initiatives. Earlier this year, the board adopted and continued a goal of increasing and implementing an internal and external public relations and marketing strategy. Our goal to have that done is by September the 1st. Concurrent with this board, the marketing team reported in February that we had those plans as well, so it was a great win-win for us all. We want to build awareness and enhance our reputation of Tellico Village and stimulate media coverage that will drive traffic, and that's covering all the different departments, golf, recreation, all the community support that we get, the different clubs. We're going to be utilizing everything for that. By the end of April, after discussions with numerous PR firms, Fletcher Marketing was selected to help us in this effort. They are a Knoxville firm, so it's nice that they're close by and they can come and tour Tellico Village with one of our property owners. I think Tom Valenzo actually gave them a tour, and they loved it. The agency was charged to create an annual plan with measurable objectives and strategies and tactics, to develop and maintain relationships with influence editors, writers, and bloggers. That platform has grown a lot over the last few years where that wasn't even on the radar. When I was in school for marketing, actually. It was just kind of coming on with the Instagram and all that fun stuff. Regular mine these sources for possible Tellico Village coverage and annually update our information on target websites, create a minimum of 6 possible storylines, and we were really impressed with what they brought back to us on those. Additional objectives include delivering upon press releases to a wide range of media using PR Newswire and update the community's electronic press kit that will be put on tellicovillage.org and entice at least one influencer to visit and report on Tellico Village annually and continue to strive for the home run coverages in major media outlets like Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Money Magazine, and have Tellico Village staff be identified as categorized experts for media coverage in the South in the retirement industry. In late April, May, and June, the agency has been working on all of these initiatives, the program messaging, and reviewed meetings. We've developed and updated our media kit, created a multimedia news release, and installed various media tracking and monitoring programs. The external Tellico Village Public Relations Program officially launched on June the 28th. Our media release went out to 5,500 national print and electronic media outlets. The release carried a link to a video with an overview of Tellico Village, as well as a full online media kit. And if the link will work, Shannon will show it to us in just a second. We'll try it. If not, it'll be on the website. 2 weeks into the program, our results were excellent. We had a potential audience of 742 million. The release was reviewed by 2,300, had 174 click-throughs, and we matched to 153 postings all across the country. We were picked up by Yahoo Finance, MarketWatch, and AP News. This is a screenshot of what the news release looked like. It shows the video there, and then there's a link to the media kit. And Shannon, let's see if, I don't know if this will work from here. No. Can you try it, Shannon, see if it'll let you do it? It might not. Nope. All right, we'll post that on the website, and I'll post that in the Telegram so people can look at that, because it's really well done. It's a flip book that goes all through. It's basically a little media kit on Tellico Village that makes you want to move here again, even though you already live here. Ongoing public relations for the remainder of the year is to update our key target websites that a lot of people go to thinking that it's Telco Village, but they're not really anything we're affiliated with, but reaching out to those websites to make sure they have updated information, that they're kind of telling the whole story. Work with editors, reporters, and bloggers on various storylines. And, oh, how did I come back here? Hold on. I think that's a repeat slide. Sorry about that. So outlook for the balance of 2021. The national real estate market will continue to be strong for the balance of 2021, as far as we can tell based on what we're seeing experts say. And we also provided the board with a leave behind on an updated economy report. 2021 will be the strongest in Telco Village history based on the numbers we've already presented. We're posed to be fully capitalized on all of those initiatives. PR will add brand awareness and credibility. The marketing team continues to be cautious regarding expectations beyond 2021. Things are getting higher priced. We have low inventory. We're still having post-COVID issues with high material costs and low supply. I've had a window I've been waiting on for 2.5 months that just got back ordered again. And so the housing market is going to continue to see things like that for some time. And then inflation, economic pressure, including mortgage rates, that's kind of an unknown for us. We can't predict that, unfortunately. And then now we will open up to any questions.
Any questions from the board for Beth?
Yes, I have one.
Yes, sir.
So what's your message to people? You've got great numbers of people coming in here for discovery visits and everything, yet we have really nothing for sale.
Well, most people luckily are looking, yeah, it's a good question. Most people aren't ready to move today. They're looking in outward years, so that's a good thing. And we tell them that right now there's low inventory and you're probably going to have to build, so that's why you see lot sales increasing. People are going to go ahead and find the lot that they want, secure that. Since there is no time frame to build, there's no negative to that, and then we'll see them build in a couple of years. We know that this is not going to continue forever. I mean, we'll be back to where we have more homes on the market. I think the post-COVID, when people can start, traveling around more, people are still always going to have to move back to be closer to family or make a new step in their life. And so we'll see more resales come on the market.
Other questions from the board? Comments from the audience?
Any online, Carla, because I can't see my computer. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to hand it back to Mitzi then. Or hand it back to you to hand back to me.
But thanks to you, Joe and Fred, and everybody that worked
Yeah,
with
you
you.
guys are doing a great job. I'm thrilled. Think I go spend my new equity.
Order something online and
Beth,
wait
before
6
you get
months.
too far away, and I can answer the question since I have the microphone, how many or do you need, is there a need for more tour guides at this time? Always. So keep that in mind. If you're interested in being a tour guide, it would be a great thing for you to do to sign up to get to meet these new people that are moving into the village. Yeah, it's a good time. Yeah.
Hey, Beth, the majority of our homes and all are coming, majority of our homes and whatnot are coming from POA lots. What's our inventory now?
We still have 455.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's another tax sale this fall. So
455 is remaining in our inventory, and if you're hitting at 150 to 200 a year, so you got about, what, 3 more years left?
Well, plus we're going to pick up another 60 in the tax sale this fall.
Good. Yeah. So we're looking at another 3 years possible, and then after that, what?
Well, after that, then we have about 600 lots that aren't producing today,
Right.
giving us assessments. That's always the good news. Okay.
While Andy is making his way up here, he's going to give you a detailed report on the food service operations here in the village. But I was asked to give kind of a mid-year point, internet liquor and wine sales, P&L, just kind of an update. I want to kind of talk about a couple of things. Obviously, you see here on the spreadsheet that we've provided,
we had budgeted for 6,000 in revenue, but what we actually did was budget $1,000 a month, and we wanted to start the program in January. The program did not get off the ground until June, and so what I wanted you to kind of notice is you'll see, of course, the cost of sales was down, and the budget numbers were down, but we did have net income of 64. And so I think the goal, what I want to remind everybody, was that we don't want to lose money. We want to show these representatives that had this law passed for us that we are utilizing this new, is that me? I'm sorry. We are utilizing this and are providing a service for our property owners. But you know, it's not anything that we intended to get out here and lose money on, but we do want to at least break even or potentially earn revenue. And we just had a huge sale actually yesterday online. So I really do think the second half of the year, you're going to see those revenue numbers increase. But the way the service works is, you know, we don't have inventory. We don't keep inventory. And what you do is you just go to the Tellico Village website, and there would be a link there that says if you're interested in ordering online the alcohol, here's what you do. Click the link, you place your order, you pay online with your debit card or credit card, and we actually get that delivered here to the yacht club, and Amanda or Skylar would give you a call. You come pick it up when it becomes available. So we just, you know, keep it in a holding spot, locked up until you're ready to pick it up. One additional service that the legislators had made available at the time that they made this available is the fact that we can deliver. One of our property owners actually asked us last week, can you deliver to me? I have a hurt leg. And so Edgar actually drove it to his home. So that's a great, you know, service that we're providing. You know, some of the comments I've seen is, well, gosh, it's more expensive than the liquor stores in Knoxville or the wine. And we're not really trying to compete with them, but we want to keep our prices as low as possible. But because they have huge inventory in their facilities, they are able to provide that lower price. This is more of a service to our villagers and a convenience for you to be able, you know, if you have a Friday night dinner party coming and you don't have time to go into Knoxville, you could just pick it up here and go on that way.
And at $3 a gallon for gasoline, there's considerable savings.
That's true. But then the one final thing I want to mention, I don't know if Norris Shake is watching, but he always asks about in the financial report where you would find this. You would find this, you have the yacht club numbers on our financial report, the POA that the finance department reports, and then you have the activity center side. And we actually run this through the activity center side. So as you see our online liquor and wine sales increase, you will start seeing that revenue and of course the expenses show up on the activity center side of that. So with that, I'd like for Andy to go right into food service, and then
So
of
we
course,
changing our own now?
Oh, you can. I guess Beth left you a surprise.
Oh, all right. Surprise, surprise. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me. So yeah, we'll run through, this is basically January through end of June compared to last year. Obviously, as we're all at nauseum already talking about this stuff, but first half, there were challenges, just like everybody else. So I felt it sort of, felt like it would be a good move to sort of try and analyze this a little deeper and actually give you guys some data behind the staffing. So typically January, February, we're coming out of winter, we're a little on the slower side. March we ramp up, April we're pretty much in full bore. So in 2019, coming out of February into March, we had 115 employees, which was also would have been short going into summertime. Obviously, we had 12 slow months. So at the end of February of this year, we had 85 employees. So we were down about 30 employees. From March really until April, literally the weekly sales increased by 70%. So it's a floodgate that just opens up and boom. Of course, we were going through what every other industry in the whole country is going through. We needed 30 employees, which we couldn't find. So we did our best. Currently, we have 98 employees, so we've actually increased that a little bit, and we're still short about 15%, 10 to 15 employees at least, which is our shortage between the three restaurants. Kahidi is actually pretty solid on staffing. So what did we do during this time frame to try to grab new employees? First of all, we increased our employee referral program, which I've had in place for years, from $100 to $200. Basically, if any employee gets a referral of an employee into our operations and they last 90 days, we pay them $200 cash. That brought us 18 employees. Unfortunately, they didn't all last, but it did work and it did get us some good people. We maximized all of the avenues afforded to us, whether it's Indeed, the Monroe Paper, ZipRecruiter, and literally spent about $1,000 a week in recruiting ads. And then I even went outside the box, and I hired 2 floating salaried positions. So I had one back-of-house chef position that I filled, and one front-of-house manager position that I filled. And this was literally, they bounced back and forth depending on need between Toqua and Tanasi, and they've even spent a little time over at Kahiti. And that's Brian and Jennifer. I don't know if you've met either one of them, but they are around. We also, and this has been going on for a little while, partnered with Lenore City High School. They have a culinary program there. It's pretty small. They only have about 5 or 6 students, but we have gotten close with the teacher over there. And we have, in the last 12 months or so, had 3 of the students actually come and apply for jobs and work in our kitchens. So we've tried to do as much as we can from a staffing standpoint to really stay on par. Obviously, everybody's aware of the product shortages and substitutions. Again, just to put it into a little more data, so you can see the costs. This is from the end of last year, December, to currently right now. You can see those. The way that pricing is up. I'm sure everybody has seen it in the supermarket. Some restaurants and other food service spots have already raised their prices. We have continued to change our menus. We've continued to try and use items that we can get at a better cost. We have taken a few things off the menu. We have raised a couple of prices in a few of the spots in the restaurants, but we've only increased nominally. You'll see from the numbers side of it what it's done to the P&L. And if this continues to stay the way it is, unfortunately, we're probably going to have to raise some more prices. But to date, we have only raised a few prices, and it's been very nominal. Now the good stuff. So back in January, as you guys know, we built the new bar at the Yacht Club downstairs, which turned out phenomenally. We saved... I don't know if, I guess Mitzi could probably put this in a CI, but we probably saved a good $20,000 in electrical and plumbing because Clayton's guys did it, and they did a phenomenal job. So, and then we're going to put together a plan, which we will propose for next year's budget, to do the same upstairs in the bar at the Yacht Club, which needs a good new date, or to get out of the old look. Another achievement, which I'm pretty proud of, there's a lot of restaurants around the country, even in Knoxville, that have changed their operating hours because they are so short-staffed. We did not. So we stayed open 7 days a week, open to close. Yes, we struggled a few times, but we did not have to go ahead and say, sorry, we're closing on Monday, or we're going to be closed for certain periods. We stayed open throughout everything. So, and even from a food shortages, again, I know a lot of owners and a lot of chefs, we were in really, really good shape compared to most. There were some places that did way worse than we did. We set up the online liquor store, as Mitzi just talked about. We were also finally able to get with our trash company recycling. It's been very expensive in the past, but when we sort of did the analysis on losing a dumpster and recycling cardboard, it made sense. So now we've literally at all the restaurants gone from 3 dumpster pickups to 2, which I feel is very important from an environmental standpoint, which is really nice. And we've had a lot of, since the floodgates opened in April, we've had some really large events. HOA's done some big events. We just had the member guest. We had the opening lunches for the ladies' golf leagues. I have a stack of cards, emails, letters, personally to me, to the managers, thanking us for a great, great, great job. So that was definitely, I wanted to mention that because, with all the challenges, it's nice to hear the good stuff too. Took me about 6 months and a lot of paperwork, but Tennessee had a surge grant that the governor put out to businesses. It's a supplemental employment recovery grant. Took me, like I said, about 6 months to get it. They sent me a check for $30,000. I literally turned that into a thanks for coming to work bonus check for every single employee that we have at AWE. So every part-time employee got a check for $200. Every full-time employee got a check for $350. And every manager, depending on their length of employment and their position, also got a nice check. So that totaled out at $29,700. So I thought that was a nice thing to do. I know that a lot of the companies were doing some kind of bonus, some kind of something. So I felt like that was perfect timing, and that just happened back in June. So we're running the numbers. So for those of you that remember, back last year, January and February, we actually started off the year very, very strong with having TOQA open and being able to split a lot of costs fully between the 3 restaurants. We actually had a really good start to the year. So we had good efficiencies in place. Obviously, COVID destroyed all that for the rest of last year. But now that we're back doing business again, some of those efficiencies are really showing. So as you can see, the growth in sales from almost 400 to almost 600, that was the jump, the weekly jump. Product costs, as you can see, are up. That's a product of the cost increases that I showed you guys. But the labor efficiencies are really there. So we've turned out with a $30,000 profit, January to June, which, as you can see, is a $75,000 turnaround from last year. So that's pretty huge. We're pretty proud of that, and that is, I believe, probably one of the best starts to the first 2 quarters in Yacht Club history. So July 2nd, I was asked by the board to put this together. So I broke down July 2nd, 454 tickets, $11,000 in revenue. I broke down each ticket revenue and where that went to. Then I broke down the costs. I think the most important part, the reason why I was asked for this is because somebody wanted to know, how does AWE fit into this? As I've said at least once or twice every year, because somebody brings it up, every single event that takes place at the Yacht Club, every penny that walks in the door goes through the P&L. It's POA money. Whatever comes in and goes out, it's all on your P&L at the end of the month. So there was actually a profit at the end of the day for about $3,000. We do get a killer deal on fireworks because we do it every year with these guys. And we got an amazing deal on the music because we give Patrick Michael a lot of weddings. So he did it at a really discounted rate. So those 2 pieces could and should have been a lot more expensive. But because of our relationships, we get great costs there. So any questions on the Yacht Club, or should I just keep running through?
So how was that compared to your capacity, the 454?
We've done 600 in the past. It does get a little crazy outside. It's more. I think 450, 500 is really. It's a nice number. Everybody's still comfortable. They're still kind of spread out. Nobody's on top of each other. The food service, the drink service, everybody. Obviously, at the beginning, it's a little rough. Everybody getting their first drink, but throughout the course of the day, it's just a nice flow, and everybody feels comfortable. So, could we fit more? Absolutely, because we have inside, outside. We even open upstairs, for eating. So we could probably fit 1,000 people if we wanted to. But that's a really good number. And it's not like we stopped selling tickets because we didn't. That's just kind of how it fell. I guess I'll move into Tenacity. Same again, 300,000 to 550,000. You can see the increase in growth. Obviously, being closed last year for 2 months didn't help. And then a turnaround from profit to loss. And then the product costs again up almost 2 points, over 1.5 points. And labor efficiencies just because we're doing the more business. And then roll into TOQA, similar growth in revenue, similar growth in product cost, similar efficiencies with labor. The difference here is the TOQA financials for 2021 do now include the $2,000 monthly rent that AWE is paying to the POA, as well as covering all the propane expense for the restaurant, which in the past, the old restaurant was electric. So now with the new restaurant, we're actually on propane. And then to finish up with Kahiti, huge growth in sales, 50%, which is awesome, which translated to basically breaking even. 3 years ago, we were talking about possibly closing that restaurant because there was such a huge loss, and now it's at break even, so that's fantastic. And that Kahiti committee is doing a phenomenal job of promoting Kahiti, promoting the residents, and promoting the restaurant and the pub, and everybody seems to be really, really tickled over there at the moment. And that's it.
Before you get into questions, Andy, would you speak to, you just mentioned the Kahiti Committee. You've got a food service discussion group getting ready to kick off here on the Loudon side that involves the Kahiti. There's a couple of Kahiti people on there. Would you just speak to that for a moment? Because that has been brought up by the board.
So it's kind of been on my mind for the last couple of years, and it really just talks to the information flow in the village, which we all know we have challenges with getting the right information out there. So basically, every member of this group is a member of a large organization, whether it's HOA, New Villagers, Ladies Nine Hole, MGA, some of the largest groups that are basically in the village. And it's really more of a information flow back and forth. So it's an opportunity for folks to ask questions that maybe they don't know the answers to, or they would like good information to be able to then feed that back to their organizations to say, hey, when somebody says, hey, this is, we heard this, time out, here's the real story. So that's one piece of it. The other piece of it is also for us as your food service provider to hear what makes sense. Are there things out there? I'll bet the ladies 9 hole and the ladies 18 hole, who both utilize the restaurants for lunch consistently, somebody might have a great idea on how to do things better. So great, let's talk it through. Or some of the social organizations. I mean, HOA and New Villagers don't even realize that they talk about doing the exact same events. So this might help to spur some information flow back and forth to help us service the village better, and also be able to feed some information so that there's maybe less of the just bad information out there that people just, when stories are made up. So it's a prototype. I mean, we've never really had a group like this. I'm hoping, we're all adults. We're going to talk around a table, and we're hopefully going to come up with some really good feedback back and forth, and some good ways of how we want to do this and what we want to talk about, and how we want to distribute the information. And our first meeting's Monday, and we'll just kind of see how it goes.
Any questions from the board for Andy? Okay, any
Awesome.
comments from the audience? Cap? I'm sorry, he was up first.
Andy, I noticed the staffing issue is one of you and I spoke briefly downstairs. And that continually is an issue, I think, in the village, because of where we're located, and people have to come in long run. Historically, one of our problems has been the amount of tipping that some of our residents seem to be willing to do. I know a few years ago, we had a mandatory tip we put on, and then the previous managers took that off. And I'm just wondering. Thank you. I've got to learn how to turn this thing on. Talking about staffing and tipping. And one of the things that I'm wondering is if tipping is now an issue, or do we need to maybe do something through the telegram to just reinforce and encourage our members as they eat here to perhaps think of their the wait staff, tip them maybe. And I know I've started doing this in other restaurants and that, because I realized that through the virus and everything, to try and help people out. Is that something that maybe we could have a pseudo campaign on to say, hey folks, you know, your wait staff, they have to come here from some distance perhaps. Let's think a little more and encourage them, because that would increase their income, and it wouldn't necessarily reflect on your operation per se, but maybe help them out. Just wondering.
So it certainly wouldn't hurt. However, I will say that this is not unnormal or abnormal from any other area. There are some people that are, yes, a little more frugal with their money. But there are some extremely generous people in this village that take care of the staff in all the restaurants very, very well, which makes up for, you know, a little frugalness, which, again, you're going to see everywhere. But honestly, Cap, that has nothing to do with the struggle of getting staff. I mean, we post ads on Indeed, and it's crickets. I mean, it's just crickets. So the real success we had, as I showed, was from referrals, from employee referrals, and getting their friends, and, you know, telling them to come on in and get a job. Unfortunately, even some of them, you know, 3 days later, they're like, it's not for me. So yeah, it's just more. It's more about where. Yeah. It's more about where we are and what our demographic is around us. You know, Sweetwater, Greenback, Von Orr, Madisonville. We're not pulling from Knoxville. We don't have the population. We don't have the background. Some of these folks. So we just make the best of what we can and what we can. I mean, much appreciated that you would bring that up from a tipping standpoint. But Skylar, you think that's no. It's not an issue. I mean, the kids at the yacht club do really well. Those that work full time and actually work there 6-7 shifts a week, I mean, they're making money. I mean, the kids at Kahiti are doing well, and those that are working full time, they're making a living. We just need more of them.
Okay, could you please identify yourself?
Kelly Cox.
Thank you.
Just a couple of questions. You're talking that you pay rent for Tokwa. What do you pay for Tanasi for rent?
We do not.
You pay nothing at Tanasi for rent.
Correct.
So do we subsidize?
So our
Tanasi?
food costs are 40%. In a normal restaurant, it would be about 28%. Our liquor costs are almost 40%. In a regular restaurant, they'd be low 20s. So if we were paying rent, what would happen is, if it was a normal restaurant environment, you'd be paying about 40 or 50% more for a drink, and you'd be paying about 20% more for food, which is absolute market basket for anywhere in West Knoxville or Knoxville.
But you're paying rent at Tokwa.
That was part of the deal when
Correct.
we redid the Tokwa Clubhouse.
Okay, but, so basically he gets Tanasi for free?
I wouldn't call it free.
So you don't pay the water, you don't pay the utilities?
We do pay utilities. We pay part of the electric bill, and we pay the full propane bill.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One question for the board is, you guys all have a copy of the AWE contract?
No, we don't. We have the ability to go see it.
Okay.
As a board and as a POA, we do not share contracts because they're confidential in nature.
Right, that's fine. But do you feel AWE has met the terms of the contract with operation hours, the performance of the contract that he's supposed to be giving to the village? Do you guys all feel that AWE is doing that?
I've been in the village for 13 years now. I've gone through, AWE is the third vendor since I've been here, and this is the first time that I've ever thought that the food service contracts were being handled in a professional manner.
Okay.
Considering our, I'm going to say this diplomatically, our short-term memory, and sitting on this board for the last 18 months through this COVID, and the debate that we had, borderline fistfights during the executive sessions on closing the restaurants, leaving restaurants open. The position that we took, and that we have a lot of people living in Tellico Village that were not comfortable even driving to Lenore City to get food, that wanted to have a local access place that they could trust, and what this man did and what the people did and what these employees did, and the staff did? Absolutely, I am. Absolutely.
Besides COVID, because the contract's been here since.
There is no
2016.
besides COVID. We had to deal with this for
Right.
18 months. Ask me again in 6 months beside COVID if this new COVID strain doesn't come out. When this gets back to normal, ask me about that normal. What you're asking me is, am I satisfied with? And my history is the last 18 months.
Well, and I would also tell you that this is the first time that the yacht club has ever been in a no subsidy situation. The
Absolutely.
first time in our history. As a matter of fact, I do remember one year where the subsidy was over $400,000.
And my wife and I virtually hit out. I have, like Pam, where have you been, Pat? I've been hiding, Pam. And we did a lot of boating, wave runners, boating on the weekends, picnics out, dinner out, come in well after dark. We just haven't had breakfast on the lake yet. I have never, and I've heard Andy and other board members sit in here over the last 3.5 years talk about the possibility of becoming a lake access restaurant, like from Cheers at Chota all the way down, all of these restaurants. The opportunity that we have to sell more food to lake people, and then listen to him talk about putting banners out there, nobody comes. But watching the difference in COVID over the last 18 months, I've seen weekdays where you couldn't get a parking spot out here because people would call to the restaurant, have the food walk to their boat, right? So the last 18 months is drastically different. And if you stand here, and not to be argumentative, but you ask me, what is my opinion? It's got to be over that last 18 months. I would do anything not to be on this board for this last 18 months.
Tell me about it.
Seriously. So give me the next 18 months and let's talk again.
I think in fairness, if the question is, are the performance indicators being followed absolutely to the letter, the answer to that would be no. But I think it's just kind of a mutual agreement that we've had to be okay with that, right? Because of the circumstances, and because sometimes to follow the letter of the performance, perhaps the people in the village didn't support certain things. For example, opening times and serving breakfast. That's been a hot, topic at TOQA. But there have been times when we've decided, okay, we're going to serve breakfast at whichever restaurant. It's been Tanasi before, and it's been TOQA. And because I work at the Tanasi Golf Shop, I actually see that a lot in the morning. I have a ton of requests. I have a lot of people who come in and think they're going to get breakfast at Tanasi, and it's not open, right? That happens every day that I work. People come in. However, when you act on that and you say, okay, we're going to serve breakfast, a handful of people maybe. Somebody
it's a
comes in,
losing
just gets a
proposition.
cup of coffee. So it's kind of one of those things where you kind of got to figure out, because I agree that so you can't do that for a couple of weeks and have habits form, right? So if we're ever going to commit to that, I think we're going to have to commit to it for some period of time. But like I said, while the absolute letter of the performance indicators is not being followed right now, again, I feel like, and the rest of my board members can correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like that's kind of a mutual agreement that we're doing the best we can with what we have.
Well, and it's more than that, Carla. Actually, Andy and our golf director sit down and they come to agreements that really are not in the contract to offer certain other services that are over and above the contract. So, it's kind of a collaborative process.
Well, and then for me to jump right in, and I'm sorry you're not getting to talk, and this next door thing about Tugaloo, we talk a lot. But just to answer your question, the poor guy comes in, I'd like to feel bad, Andy, but I can't feel bad. The guy comes in here, faces this board a couple of months ago, and we have villagers that are going to restaurants and saying, oh, I'd like the salmon. We don't have that on the menu. Oh, then I would like the grouper. We don't have that on the menu. I want the shrimp. We don't have that on the menu. Well, we are villagers of routine, and we want to be in and out And the poor guy has got all these people here. I say poor guy. We didn't treat him like a poor guy during that meeting and we gave him suggestions to do, and he went out and did them to the best of his ability with those new people. And am I ecstatically happy every time I go to Tokwa or Tanasi? There's always something. Well, Alice and I sat on the porch one day for 15 minutes too long, I thought, but we had friends out there. I understand the lady was new, and the next time we went back, she was a lot better. But he is really trying hard, you know? And we kind of abused him a little bit, probably a lot in his terms, but he responded.
But it's so much fun.
I know. And then to give you the floor back, it's people like you, Mrs. Cox, that stand up there and say, here's the questions I have, and ask those questions to us exactly, get our response, and I would like to know what yours is. So you seem to be asking a question, wanting to know an answer. What is your impression of the restaurants here?
Well, I won't eat at Tokwa anymore.
I had dinner there the other night. It was wonderful.
Well, I asked her. We had every time that we ate there, we had bad experience. Always. And taking it off the bill is not the answer of fixing the issue. It should be fixing the problem and not taking it off the bill. It should be fixed and addressed at that time.
Well, did you actually,
Talk to a manager, yes.
and then that manager did not respond?
Rolled their eyes.
Well, Andy, that's a manager that you probably need to get rid of.
They're probably already gone. We're on our third GM and fourth chef now. It's been a real struggle at Tokwa to get the right people in the right place.
One of the things that we've told people over the years is if you have a bad dining experience, make sure you talk to the manager because they are empowered to fix it.
But they're empowered by taking it off the bill. That's what they were doing. They
So-
weren't
so-
fixing it.
So we do have a conversation. We do have manager meetings on a very consistent, regular basis where we bring all of these things up. You know, we have ever since we've opened that restaurant. So I have at the Yacht Club in Tanasi both, and to an extent at Kahiti, I have very seasoned veteran staffs, including managers and chefs. We hired a new GM, and I had actually an old chef that came to open Tokwa. Well, the two of them left together, and the grass was greener on the other side. So Skylar and I were just talking about this the other day. Our challenges at Tokwa are that we don't have a cultured team there. So we don't have a team there that understands what this village is about, that doesn't understand what our residents need, that doesn't understand what AWE stands for, and how I try to make them feel, a part of the organization. We finally hired what we thought was our chef, Wade, who started about I guess he was on his 8th week. And one day he got a phone call, literally this was 2 weeks ago, dropped his knife, walked out the door and never came back. So he had some personal issues and went back to Ohio or wherever he was from. So that's the kind of thing that we're dealing with now that unfortunately, and that day, that Monday 2 weeks ago was a nightmare because our chef literally walked out the door. And it was a busy night. So we struggled that day. Now, I'm not here making excuses. I'm just telling you exactly what happened. You can't predict this stuff. So fortunately, this new chef that we hired as this floating chef, Brian, who has a lot of experience, is going to be yet the next chef at Tokwa, and hopefully he's going to understand, and we're going to culture him. And Chris has been working out well. He seems to have resonated with the groups, especially the larger groups, the golf groups and the HOA and the new villagers. But that's unfortunately what we struggle with. And every restaurant does until they find that team that understands not only what the company needs, but what the restaurant needs, but what the people that walk in the door need. And again, we have Edgar here, we have Castro here. They have both been here for 10 years. They get it. That's why the Yacht Club rocks, because we have that consistency at the helm. Well, we've actually talked, to be honest with you, Skylar and I just had that conversation a couple days ago, because that might be. Yep. Mhm. But we totally, to answer your point, we do understand the struggles. We do understand that the avocado and chicken wrap sometimes shows up without avocado on it. You know, we do understand that, you know, things happen, and when they do, we do discuss them. We do try and find out the whys and the hows and the whats, and we do continually try to better the systems.
And to answer your question, yes, I do put my complaints into the manager. I do not just, and I do not put it on next door.
Thank you for that.
I can't tell you how much I thank you for that.
I just want to say that I play in the 9-hole league with Kelly, and we have discussed this before, and Andy knows if I have a bad experience at the restaurant, the first thing I do is take a picture and text it to him and say, what the heck is this, right? So he knows. But I also have been, I think, fairly good to call him and say, when good things happen too, right? And so I'll say, you know, this is 10 times better than last time, this is great. So going forward, to help people like Kelly who want to support the restaurants in the village, but you know, you have so many bad experiences in a row, you just go, I'm not going to set myself up for that again, right? So you go somewhere else. So is HelpSpot the way to go? I mean, once you talk to the manager, if they roll their eyes at you, if they take it off your bill, that still doesn't make you feel better about going the next time, right? Because there's no solution to that. What's the best way to get feedback to you so that we know these issues are being addressed?
Specifically to me and or Skylar, for sure.
So email you?
Yeah, which she did.
Okay.
And we talked, and we
Perfect.
went back
Okay.
and forth. It was more about the group, I think, than it was the issues, but absolutely. I mean, and honestly, not every, and I'm not trying to take away from the bad experience, but not every restaurant is for everybody, right? So you might really enjoy Tanasi and just have never clicked at Tokwa. So, you know, let me at least. Typically, what I do is I find out those details, and you know, there are some people that love the yacht club and never go to Tanasi and Tokwa, you know, or just hang out at Kahiti Pub and Grill and never go anywhere else. And great. I mean, nobody's saying you have to use all 4 restaurants, but you know, if we're getting too long here.
Yeah,
All right,
we're getting too long.
All right.
So that's for you.
Awesome.
Yeah. No.
Oh.
Are there other? Yes.
May I just make a suggestion? I'm Leanne Phillips, and in order to make a comparative, can you put in, like marketing did, put in like 2019 so that we can see kind of a comp over a comp period that's more realistic? We know 2020 was a terrible year, but it's hard for me, and again, I'm in Kelly's camp. We've had some tough dinners, and we live on the golf course, and we want to support it, and we have a golf cart, and it's just been really difficult. And so it would be nice, it causes me to want to look at the analysis and go, where is it? Like, what's causing the problem? So. I would-
19 might be a tough comparison for Tokwa, because
is.
Yeah,
that's,
because it was closed.
Yeah, it is, you're right. Fair enough. Then maybe, I guess I'm just needing some kind of a, like, so that I can level set and go, gosh, this really was a terrible year. Look at how things are getting better. And at least in marketing, I can look at that
That's a
and
good
go,
suggestion.
you know, side by side.
yeah, we can do that.
We'll share that.
Yes, Bruce?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that 3 years ago, it was mentioned that we came that close to closing down Kahiti
Boy, did we.
because it was not being supported by the people that lived in Kahiti. You just can't believe how close it was to turning that into a vending machine operated place for people to go in and get something to eat out of a vending machine. They answered the call, and that restaurant is basically thriving now. And the reason why is they answered the call, and then not only did they answer the call, they got involved like you did to make it better. They formed committees that said, I applaud you for being interested in saving Tokwa. I can promise you, looking at the numbers up there, if people do not support Tokwa, you're liable to see that be a vending machine operation. This board has to operate on doing what's best, and if people don't support that restaurant, we'll make changes. So we like that restaurant, we built it for the purpose of serving people, but we need you folks in the village to answer the call once again.
But then again, you have to get a good value, you have to get good service, and you have to have high quality.
Agreed.
Are there any other comments from the audience? With that, I release you from your bondage. Okay. So, next is Jerry Doherty to give us a briefing on the operations of the fire department. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'd like to give, will be our second quarter report. The 5 items I'd like to talk about is our run data, our membership, COVID-19, it's coming back to us, our TEMSCON update, and then major happenings in the second quarter. Our run data, if you look at the 2021 compared to 2020, we're up 8%, and we're on track to most likely hit 950 calls in the year 2021 total. Our fire calls and other calls are about par as percentage-wise from in the past, so we haven't seen any major changes that way. This is just a snapshot of those 3 months. EMS is emergency medical calls. We had 56, 43, and 47 in the 3 months. And we break it down north of the traffic light and south of the traffic light. So they say, well, you get a lot of calls to the neighborhood. Well, not true. The north calls are just as popular. Smoke alarms, lift assist in the south and north, that was a split, and it fluctuates back and forth. Fire calls, they are truly the smoke alarms, CO alarms. In the month of June, we had 4. In the month of May, we had 11. And the fire calls, that is truly when we had, there was a fire in the house, whether it was an overcooked steak or a physical fires. We've had some, 2 fires in that time frame.
Chief?
Yes, sir.
Those do not include mutual aid calls?
No, I'll come down the bottom on that. The rescue calls, we've had 5 rescue calls in the quarter, and rescue is 2 of them were water calls. One was a man stuck on a roof. He was cleaning his gutters and couldn't get down. Another one was a experienced tree trimmer, got stuck in a tree, and we had to help him down. So we're having our fun calls.
Can be very experienced.
We're having our fun calls. The MVA is motor vehicle accidents, and they are any motor vehicle accidents on 444 or within the bounds of the Telco Village. So we've had 4 calls so far this quarter. The other calls, after looking at the data, is actually misnomer. It should be 75 total number of calls, and the others would go away to 0 because we didn't know where they were. So it was, we counted for 3 additional calls that we didn't have. So it was 75 total calls. And AMA is automatic mutual aid, and that is the agreement that, that's our response to the agreement we signed with the other 4 volunteer companies in the county that we would provide service to them and they would provide service to us on a confirmed structure fire. So 3 times in the month of June, we went out and supported the other Philadelphia, Greenback, Loudoun County Fire and Rescue. They're the 3 other volunteer fire departments that we would support in the county. So, and also, if you go back on the fire side, when it says we had those 5 calls there, we received mutual aid from the volunteer companies in the county 2 of those 5 times. Last April, I showed a membership roster of 31. The 1st of July, we had a membership roster of 30. Today, we have 31 because we voted in a new member last week. And we'll have 2 interviews on Friday for medical nurses, and one is a flight attendant, or a flight nurse for Lifestar that lives in the South End that she's interested in joining. So that would bring us up to 33 members.
You need to get rid of that Bruce Johnson guy.
I agree with that.
All right. This is a snapshot taken last week on the 15th because the state now only puts the big snapshot data out every Thursday. And you can see the top left-hand side is Loudoun County, the bottom right is Monroe County. And you can see a little blip in the graph, and that's the number of COVID cases. As of today in Loudoun County, we have 6,279 cases, confirmed cases, and the deaths have not changed. We've had 5 yesterday. In Monroe County, their number from 6,008 is up to 6,024 cases total. We've had 2 cases of COVID response in our calls this past 7 days. So we are going to, right now we're in the middle of what we call TEMSCON 3 and 4. That's when we had 2 rescue vehicles out on the road at all times and 3 people responding. And our goal was to get 1 rescue vehicle in each zone responding with 3 people. So we're bouncing back and forth. Maybe 10, 15 days out of the month, we have both vehicles on the road. So once we get our membership back up, we'll have 2 vehicles on the road with that. So we still ask the 5 questions when we come to the front door for any medical call. Can you smell? Do you have a fever? Or do you have any symptoms? And have you been vaccinated? Major happenings in the department for the past month. We continue working with the POA in our water flow testing and bonnet coloring for the fire hydrant, so that when we pull up to a residence or into the neighborhood of a residence, we can look at the hydrant and we'll be able to see whether it's red, yellow, green, or blue. So that is an indicator for us that we know what the water flow capacity is of that hydrant. We're continuing with joint training exercises. I'll show us photos at the next slide. With the other county departments, that's both paid and volunteer departments. We purchased our 2nd Lucas device. That is the automatic chest compression system that we have to use when people are in need of CPR. We got a grant from the, partial grant from the United Way, and then the fire department upped their funding of it from our regular budgeted numbers. So that was $16,000 for that device there. We got a $7,500 grant from the United Way, and then we funded the rest of it within the department. We had 1 member complete firefighter 1 and 2. That's a state certified training of over 280 hours. So that is a nice check mark for us when the ISO comes around in a couple of years for our audit. Our Rescue 126 vehicle that we purchased last year, we found out that the lights that were on it, we thought was going to be a saver for us coming on nighttime calls, and we found out that the lights did not function too well and they were blowing fuses. So we ended up going out and buying a light fixture that is 122,000 candle power. So it's very bright and it works. So we've put it into use a couple times. We're finalizing the design on a computer system and building security system that we're going to go with card keys. And we conducted our annual mass casualty drill at the community church. We had 18 members complete a 40-hour vehicle extrication course. If you were driving near the fire station in the month of June, you may have noticed it looked like a wrecker yard. We had 5 cars sitting out there that were donated by various scrap dealers. They donated the cars to us. And we asked the whole department to complete Federal Emergency Management Association training 100 and 200, so we will all talk the same language when we go to other cities or counties that we're all using the same terminology, incident command control. So the photo, lower center photo, is a building across the street from Tractor Supply in Lenoir City. Was referred to as the pill mill because the last occupants of it were known for dispensing illegal pills. So it was termed the pill mill. So it's been, the owner of it has granted permission to Lenoir City Fire Department that can be used for training. So we've been up there 4 times with all 6 departments in the county. Photo on the left is they replicated going through a window into a building, into a house. So that was with full gear. We had all of the trained firefighters that went up there for that. So they had to climb over the wall into it. Our top photo is the our engine learning how to draft. We normally don't draft because we have hydrants throughout our response zone, so we had the opportunity to learn how to draft. And inside of the building, they put a stove, and they got the gas, heated gas and air inside of the building up to about 900 degrees, and then they closed all the doors, and then the firefighters had to go in for a search and rescue and/or going through the wall. So it was valuable training for our members. And this is our junkyard. It started out, the car on the top left was a solid station wagon, mini station wagon, and we pulled all the 4 doors off, cut the roof off, and then we bundled it back up so that when the wrecking company came back and towed it away, it was a nice bundle for them. And we put it over on the roof so we can visually train on possible real-time scenarios. The lower left is when we stabilize a car if it is on its side, and we're just on the lower right was just looking at it before that. And you'll notice that, I don't know if this will work or not, the latest thing on the news around, no? Oh, there it goes. Okay. Catalytic converters being stolen.
Yeah.
It was there when we started, and it was gone when we did the training. So they came in and during this, this was over a 5-week period. We did a Monday night, Thursday night. On a Thursday night in June, we started at 6 o'clock, in June, excuse me. We tried to get it so the temperature was a little bit cooler. We no sooner started at 6 o'clock, had all the tools out of Rescue 127, which is our rescue truck. And then we were dispatched on a motor vehicle accident on 444 at 72 with entrapment. So we had 3 people stuck in the car that we had to extract from the car. We ended up having to deploy Lifestar, and they landed in the Sloan's parking lot, and we were able to transport the patient there with that. So, and the lower left-hand corner is when the cables on the truck and the grass is too wet and you can't roll the car over, you go with regular manpower and just push it over with everybody was doing it. And this was the 18 members of the staff of Telco Village that are all now certified for vehicle extrication. The instructor on the right is Chief Martin from Lenore City, and the one below him is Captain Abercrombie. And lastly, but I just want to share that I apologize if I rattled any feathers right before the July 2nd fireworks, asking for information about who was the provider of the fireworks and all that stuff. With the training that we're taking, we need to be a little bit more proactive and come up with an incident action plan. So if something goes wrong during an event, we know what to do, how to do it, who to contact, and who's on the scene. So we did an abbreviated one for the fireworks. And when I called and I sent this out, and TWRA received a copy of it, they called and said, we do not have a permit for this fireworks. And I says, well, they've been doing it for the past 10 years. He says, they have never gotten a permit. So in the future, we need to work with TWRA. The permit is $0, but it just lets them know that something is happening on the water and that the other law enforcement departments on the water can be there to support if anything goes wrong. And mark your calendars for October 2nd for open house at the fire department.
Cool. Any questions from the board for Jerry?
Comments from the audience?
October 2nd, Saturday.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jerry.
Charlotte, you're up.
Mr. President, board, villagers, welcome. Thank you for your time. I'll be going over the key non-financial indicators year-to-date. Assessed lots, 6,499. POA lots sold, as mentioned, Beth's doing a great job selling lots. Total paying lots, 6,392. And head count, we're still searching for 5 golf maintenance, 2 water and sewer, and 1 public works. Going down to public works, property transfers are 604. That's 404 over budget. New home permits, 189. That's 106 over budget. Miscellaneous permits trailing slightly at 33 behind budget. Moving down to golf, doing exceptional with total rounds of 50,000, almost 51,000. That's 7,500 over prior year and 15,000 over budget. Then unlimited membership individual, 2-person household, and Twilight doing very well. Docks, 100%, pretty much 100% leased. We have a wait list of 132. RV storage, we've expanded 29 spaces, and we have a waiting list of 37. And recreation is doing very well as well. Revenue, June year-to-date, 12,122,000. Expenses, 9,589,000 for net income of 2,005,000. That's almost 2 million over prior year and 3.8 million over budget. With regard to the revenue categories, assessment revenue is up against budget due to the increase in lot sales. Late fees, the shortfall in revenue is offset by the bad debt expense. Golf revenue is over budget due to member rounds up. Golf merchandise is doing extremely well. Recreation memberships are up, household over 1,500 compared to budget, and individuals over 1,000 compared to budget. Installed tank revenue is favorable with 9 tank jobs closed. As mentioned, dock revenue is favorable with a long waiting list.
Could I
as well
cover
as-
something on dock?
Sure.
You certainly may.
Marine Advisory Committee this week, and there's always interest in the number of people that have a boat slip, and the appearances, like Bruce keeps his nice and clean, but some people may not use it regularly. It may get a little frosty looking. But last year, we had 60-plus leases turnover. So in other words, they stopped boating, sold their boat or moved or whatever, and turned their lease back to us, POA, then we leased it back. This year, we're at 15. So it looks like we're on about the same track. They do go through the boats periodically and look, and then we do have a system set up for a consignment service. If anybody out there is listening or in the audience today that is tired of boating, you can get with your Marine Advisory Committee. Help Spot can get you that information, and we can arrange to have your boat analyzed and sold. Thanks. Okay, thanks. Sorry for the interruption.
It's fine. Moving on to ACC permits, doing very well. Number of new home permits, 106 over budget, offset by miscellaneous permits running slightly behind at 33 under budget. And the favorable variance in other revenue is due to administrative service fees for property transfers. We had 604, which is over budget, and at a rate of $200 per transfer. And this is the trend of revenue and expenses. Moving on to expense categories. Maintenance, as you can see, is very favorable. We'll go over that in detail. We are in the process of a $566,000 pavement preservation. We're working on the PRI contract. Should start the end of July, and it's expected to end the end of August. And Brian Phillips is doing a great job with getting quotes, and there is expected to be savings with this project. The next one is $416,000 overlay. As mentioned previously, with PRI, that's 2,000 square yards or 3/4 of a mile for the Kahidi entrance. And also coming up will be the Tokwa parking lot. The bid is to go out next week. There's $300,000 for the water system improvement, $82,000 for the sewer system study, started by Jacobs Engineering. That should finish in August. $255,000 water storage rehab will happen in the fall due to draining the tank. Right now, we need the pressure for the summer months. $50,000 for dock anchor replacement should happen in August, September. $40,000 for the wet well coating. We need to finish the bypass pit, and $20,000 for the bypass pit, and $20,000 for Chota sprinkler system. We're waiting on the vendors to schedule that. Salaries.
So basically, the savings and maintenance costs is all timing, right? Pretty much all timing?
Yes.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, salaries and benefits, favorable. As mentioned, we're looking for positions to fill. Operating supplies tracking favorably. Water and sewer revenue favorable against budget. As mentioned also, food service is strong with Yacht Club having another positive month. They have great salads, chicken salads, and chicken strawberry salads as well. They're really good. Just saying. And then other is running favorable mainly due to the gain on the sale of lots, $304,000. Engineering architecture, $167,000, and software expense, $80,000. And this is the net income trend. As far as golf rounds, as mentioned, last year was really good. This year was exceptional. Tokwa, total rounds, 16,000. Tanasi, 15,000. Kahidi, almost 12,000. As far as guest rounds, 2,400 for Tokwa, 2,600 Tanasi, and 2,800 Kahidi. And then cart rounds, over 15,000 for Tokwa, almost 15,000 for Tanasi, and over 12,000 for Kahidi. So total rounds, 50,854, beating budget by over 15,000. Then recreation membership. As mentioned, household memberships getting up there at 788 year-to-date average, and individual memberships have surpassed prior year at 533. That's it.
Question for Charlotte. Any questions from the audience? Okay, thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you.
So next victim.
think it's always tough to put finance at the end. I think we're losing everyone, so.
No, you're not
bear-
losing
bear
me at
with
all.
me.
But by the way, I do want to comment on the golf rounds. Don't let them sandbag like that again this year.
No, absolutely not.
I heard it was your fault.
Hey. Report on current activities. You know, Mitzi covered a lot of this during her quarterly update. Personal watercrafts, that expansion of 10 replacements and 10 new lifts have been completed. We talked about a lot of the different projects that are in various stages of, you know, being ordered or being completed. You know, Clayton has a very detailed schedule of a lot of the maintenance timing issues that Charlotte just talked about. So we're staying on top of those, trying to get those completed. As soon as we get, you know, some of them are interdependent. So once one of them falls, we can kind of keep working, especially when we get to like the water and sewer type projects.
So I'm just curious, you know, we just went through the expenses, and there's a lot of stuff that's into the last half of the year here. Are we going to get it all done?
We review it every day, and you know, we feel comfortable. It's going to be, you know, hopefully the fall weather will cooperate, especially with the asphalt work. But the goal is to have it all done, you know, by August, probably early September.
Okay, great.
Little bit of delay, like with everything on product delivery. It's slowly recovering. We're trying to anticipate, you know, our continued growth in the village. Clayton's trying to build up tank inventory as an example. Obviously, from all the demand of new housing starts, that impacts tank installations, which Charlotte just talked about. So we got to be prepared for that continued growth. And I think the last thing folks want, after they've waited so long to have their home built, was to be told there's a delay in getting the sewer tank installed. So we're trying to stay ahead of that. We talked about the Public Works asphalt program. That's underway with Public Works, PSAC. We did have new staff training. We had someone leave in utility billing. We did an internal transfer, which I'm a big fan of, with you know, exposing our staff to different departments and aspects of working at the POA. That internal transfer allowed for a good transition. We had about 3 weeks to train them, so you'll probably be hearing someone new on the other end of the phone if you call about your utility bills. And then my favorite topic, we're beginning to frame up the 2022 budget process. We're scheduled to begin all the assumptions around the budget. We've got workshops coming up with the FAC to take that a step further. I will be working with Mitzi and with Beth to publish the formalized budget calendar. I think a draft is posted out there currently. We are planning on having, similar to years past, the full FAC budget reviews. They start at around 9 in the morning and go to about noon, starting around September 27th, and then it'll go to October 1st. We're planning on having them here at the Yacht Club so we can live stream the meetings as well as in-person attendance. So you'll see that and can put that on your calendars. And then finally, just activity in general in the village remains strong. Water and sewer usage is up as typical during the summer months. New home builds, Clayton and I were just talking, there are 302 active home builds in the village, and I don't think that has, you know, I've only been around 2 years, but I don't think anyone would have guessed we've had that level of activity. And then Charlotte talked about the great recovery on recreation with members, getting back on the pickleball courts, getting back in the facilities, golf rounds, and then restaurants. So really good news all around. So with that, if there's any questions on the activities in the village, I'll move on to, there's 3 maintenance requests, funding requests rather. The first one does not require board approval. It was budgeted and with CEO approval authority. The request was for updating and replacing 9 cameras at the Kahidi docks. That price includes installation. The budgeted amount was $9,000. The requested amount was $10,250. Source of funds, operating cash. This did go before the FAC and was recommended by them at the July 16th meeting. Project justification is to replace the existing cameras. Knox Integrated Systems was the sole source vendor. That is the vendor that has all of the integrated camera security throughout the village. And again, no action required. This second request does require approval by the board. It is for a milling machine, and the request is to purchase a milling machine attachment for Public Works. They have a Case brand skid steer, and this tool, which is an attachment on the front of the skid steer, will allow the leveling of asphalt as well as the removal of asphalt when patching. So it will basically provide clean cuts on street work and offer smooth transitions with street repairs. So if there's dips in the road or bumps in the road, Clayton and his crew can grind that down and then obviously coat it. And so this tool has a lot of different uses for that asphalt program. The manager would be Clayton Taylor and Caleb Morris. The budgeted amount is $23,000. The requested amount is $22,468. The source of funds would be out of operating cash. This as well was recommended by the FAC at Friday's meeting. PSAC also made the recommendation for this equipment. I won't go into the project justification. I think I talked about that earlier. We did get 3 bids on this. Case Contractor Machinery, which was the low bid, Spartan Equipment, and then Skid Steer Solutions. And the request is for Case as it's compatible with the skid steer. And we know it'll work well with our existing skid steer.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the capital expenditure of $22,468 for a milling machine attachment for the Case skid steer funded from operating cash. Say that 3 times in a row. Bruce.
Second.
Marty. Any discussion from the board?
Any comment from the audience?
Okay, with that, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor? 6-0.
Thank you. Okay, the last request is related to the asphalt program, and this is for funding for the Kahidi entry and exit road paving. Clayton, again, is the manager. The budgeted amount is $416,000. Charlotte had mentioned one of the timing issues was the budgeted overlay. This would be a partial usage for that, and we'll bring forward to the board the larger projects that will make up that program. The requested amount is $75,895. The source of funds would be the R&M Reserve Fund. This was recommended by the FAC on Friday's meeting. PSAC also made the recommendation. And to give you a perspective, I know it came up in our FAC as well. Obviously, the the entrance and egress out of Kahidi will be done in phases over, I believe, a few days. So to try to still allow folks access in and out of the neighborhood.
So we're not going to trap them in there?
We're not trapping you in there, although you could golf and dine. And it will go from the entrance all the way past the guardhouse, up the hill, and I believe it's where the curb and gutter ends. So if that gives you a perspective of kind of what will be paved. Again, there's two bids. PRI was the low bid at $75,985, and then Rogers Group was $139,975. And I know a question that'll come from someone, why are they so different? And
There it is, I got it. Yeah.
and that came up during our FAC, and the short answer is Rogers Group wanted to bid. I mean, they've done work in the village before, but they really don't have time. A lot of these vendors are completely covered up with work right now, and they told Clayton, hey, if you want us to do the work, this is what it's going to be.
So basically, it was a courtesy bid.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got it.
So the recommended PRI from the staff. So the request will be for the board to approve the project at $75,985 and funding from the R&M reserve.
Okay.
Okay, let's go back up to the budget amount, 416,000 partial usage for this component. How many partial usages, so that I can get in my head to divide into 416 to see if what you just told me about the 75,985 is correct?
I think we have three, Pat. I know we talked about like Toqua parking lot. You want to help me out here, Clayton?
Not doubting your word, I just
Nope.
like to feel comfortable.
This 416 included the entrance and exit of Kahidi, the back loop of Kahidi, and a Tossie Trail. So with some of the reconfiguring of our pavement preservation and pavement technology that we're going to use this year, we should save approximately $200,000 of that money.
Of the 416?
Yes, sir.
Wow. I'm impressed.
So,
Hence Mitzi feeling comfortable about CI in the back half of the year.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, I need a motion
She's
to.
dreaming about a big check.
Yeah, I need a motion to approve the expenditure of $75,895 to mill and pave the Kahidi entry and exit road funded from the R&M Reserve Fund.
Motion made.
Pat, I need a second.
Second.
Who's, Bruce? Other comment from the board? Yes, Bruce?
Clayton. I need to know, I've seen a lot of messages back and forth with John Tierney and Mr. Hofer and you and whatnot. Just need to make sure that that 75,000 amount, are we set on the exact cubic yards, distances and everything?
yes, that is we have a solid contract put together on that. That Brian, our purchasing agent, and Mr. John Tierney, which is on the PSAC committee, have worked through that very diligently.
So this one is set as far as there's the
Yes, it's-
distances, the quantities, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes, sir. When if it's approved by the board, then it'll be sent to PRI.
How deep are you going to mill it? Just out of curiosity.
Say again?
I just was curious, how deep are you going to mill?
We will mill an inch and a quarter.
Inch and a quarter? That's
then
kind of
we'll-
normal, right?
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
we'll overlay an inch and a half.
Okay, great, thanks. Other comment from the board? Any comment from the audience? Yes, I'm sorry.
I talked to Clayton about this at lunch today, and I just pulled up the budget materials for last year's October 26th meeting, and the changes that are included in that are, we took $70,000 out of the budget for paving the dock parking lot in Kahidi, and added in, or moved above the line, the boat launch, which had been budgeted at $18,000, increased it to $20,000, added a pier for $20,000, and allotted $10,000 for road repair to the docks. So I sent you that, Kevin. I sent you an email with that information in it. But the question becomes, and when I talked to Clayton today, I was hoping that we could get that repair done. I would think it would cost less if we do it while we're doing the rest of the work on Kahiti Trail while they're doing that, because for some reason, that seems to have been misplaced, as it were, in the budget. And so I went down there with Pat White last week, and he had brought his jet ski over to Kahiti for a meeting and said it was even rather dangerous walking on it, let alone driving on it. So it needs to be prioritized, I think, and hopefully we can do it while we do this project. I know that's an additional expense, but that's where we are on that.
I'm just curious, Clayton, is that possible? And does it make sense?
Yes, sir, it does make sense, and it is
Okay.
possible. We still have asphalt companies that will be looking at Atassi Trail, which is another phase of this project, and we can include that in the scope of work and have that looked at also.
So it wouldn't be done at the same time as this, but it'd be done at the same time as another one.
It depends. If PRI would be the low bidder on the other projects, then yes,
Okay.
it could all be done at one time.
When will you know that?
We will send those scope of works out next week.
Next week? Okay, great.
So we still have that time waiting on PRI to schedule, and we can try to work it together.
Fair enough. Thank you. Other comments? Yes, Bruce?
Quick. Does this includes traffic control, I assume?
Yes, sir, it does.
Because that's going to be tricky up there at that entrance.
Yep. Yes, it will.
You think?
And that's something that we made clear in the scope of work, and we met with the bidders out there on that job site to look at that before they turned the bid in.
So what part of the green over there on that, what hole is that? Number 3, or are they going to drive across to get out to the highway?
You're not pulling me into this one, Trap, right here.
You're learning.
Nice job.
Very diplomatic. Okay, no, if there are no other comments, I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor? 6-0.
Okay, moving on real quickly, here is a year-to-date, what we've got with approval of all the capital projects. To date, we're about 15,000 over. I think we'll make that up easily with some of the projects as they come forward. Capital remaining is about 2.7. So overall, I think we're in good shape with that capital. We do have, the actual spent year to date has only been 151,000. Some of these will happen quickly once we get delivery from the various vendors.
So on that capital remaining, the 2.7, do you still think you'll be spending that?
No, and what I can provide for the board, Marty, is a more detailed forecast of where we're going to, where I expect us to come out. That's really just the plug between what's been approved to date and then, the budgeted projects that are not obviously approved yet. Some of them we know won't happen. Like a great example is Chris Sykes had budgeted a range picker in golf for, I believe it was $12,000. That range picker got replaced or will be replaced as part of the overall replacement of the golf fleet. So we'll never come to the board for a capital request.
Right.
So I'll clean up that list, and I need to do it anyways for cash forecasting and liquidity. So I'll just share that with the board at the next meeting.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep. And obviously, finally, for a cash flow check, Charlotte talked about our budgeted net income at $500,000. We've got a $3.8 million year-to-date variance Again, a lot of that's timing, but that would lead to a net income projection of 4.3 million. Depreciation, we're a little bit behind, projecting that out to be almost 1.9 million. And CapEx, again, that's getting us back to the budgeted, so 3,658,000. We had budgeted a net cash flow use of 1.2. With that year-to-date variance, that flips us into generating net cash flow of 2.5 million. And again, that'll all adjust back down in the back half of the year.
Any questions for Kevin? Any questions or comments from the audience? Well, you get to be released too.
I just have,
Oh.
I just have one
There
quick
you
question again for my good friend Clayton. When we get to the preservation, we're going to do a lot of it this year, right?
Yes, we're going to do all that we had asked for permission to do this year.
So is there any difference this year between what the people in the village have been asked to do versus what we're going to do this year?
No, there will be no difference. The time limit for being shut off the street should be less, but yeah, they'll be asked not to do anything.
Basically, we're going to ask them as they come through the neighborhood not to be on the pavement for how long?
For about a half a day,
Half a day.
yeah,
And then after that, they can drive.
yes. And all that will go out in that notification in a couple weeks or a week. It'll go out in the telegram, plus it'll be delivered to everyone in those sections that will be. Yes.
So are we going to have the same the same situation Marty and I ran into last year? Is that we both read in the telegram that it was going to be a half a day, but Marty and I both live on the end of a dead-end cul-de-sac. So we live like 3 layers deep, and there was no possible way these guys could do in a half a day and then let us in it. So they just did it all in one day. But they let us know. I don't know about Marty.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, so they came along, they knocked on our door and they said, you can't go anywhere tomorrow, and we didn't. So they were nice about it. But it kind of caught he and I a little bit unawares, because how are we going to get to board meetings and dinner and that kind of thing? So suggestion, if you have the dead end of the, like, notify those 5 or 6 families that they're going to be an exception, because they have to start somewhere.
Yes, sir.
And then they have to work back in or out or whatever. But it was a little bit of I didn't mind. But I was very gracious, as Marty was, and we listened intently to our neighbors that did, and rightly so. They were.
Yeah, we'll review maps and make sure that don't happen.
And generally, when do you think this will start?
It should start the second week of August is the plan right now,
Yeah. Thank you
weather
very much.
permitting.
Yeah.
Sure.
And you stop when?
It depends on weather. That's about a
If
month.
the weather is
Well, if it's-
all good, what's the best case?
It's about a 6-week project.
Okay.
So,
There we go.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then we don't get into cool weather and we don't get into leaves and.
Correct.
Okay, good.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, Cap.
I've been sitting there debating on whether I wanted to wait for other or while you've got that up on the board, before I could make my standard line and pitch, which I've been making. When I look up there at net income, it's $4.3 million. Now, I know the way that, Kevin, and the way that Potter used to do this was that he would take the actual and then use budget for the balance of the year. Is that correct, Kevin? So what I've got up there now is we're 4.3 million actual positive net income with a budget projection through the balance of the year. But when you look at the way we've been running month to month, I would anticipate that we're probably going to be positive over the balance of the year, i.e. in net income. You're getting ready to talk about scheduling the budget preparation for next year. I know that when I sat on the board, I agreed with the 5% per annum for certain number of next years to increase the assessment. And I know that we wanted to try and reach a certain amount of dollar reserves. We have now been able to increase those reserves. I don't know the cash number because I wasn't here to look at that. I mean, last I heard it was over 4 million. I don't know, it's probably above 4 million right now.
Our current reserves?
No, the cash.
Well,
Total cash, reserves plus operating.
it's 11.9 million.
11.9 million. And the actual reserves have now been increased. All I'm saying is we now have a situation, thanks to Beth's good work in selling off all the lots, the amount of non-paying assessments are down dramatically from what we were experiencing a few years ago. As you go in and you set your goals, i.e. for the 2022 budget, seriously consider 4% or something else so that we can get off that trend line to hopefully make the residents feel a little more comfortable.
Well,
It's not going to be 5%. Give me a minute, Pat.
Yeah, I
Thanks.
will.
It's not going to be 5% per annum ad infinitum. And I mean, I think this is a wonderful situation. This is the best that I could have ever hoped for when I sat where you guys are sitting.
Yeah, right
And
there.
so I just think that as you move forward, consider where we are and what the favorable, the golf, everything else. I think we're very fortunate. The PR work that's going to be done is going to continue to hopefully bring people to this wonderful village. So thank you very much for all the work that's been done, but just consider something other than 5.
Cap, the board has already been discussing that, and in fact, we had a project that we started last year, which was to look at what we really have to have in reserves, and frankly, I would tell you we've hit that target.
And Cap, what I
And
want
so we will certainly, as we go through the budget process, and we look at all of the things that the village wants and has to do, you know, and what inflation is going to do, and frankly, that's the big outlier right now, we will certainly consider, you know, what is a reasonable assessment amount.
Just all I'm asking.
I know.
Keep it in the chip.
I
So,
understand.
Cap, before you go, what I wanted to point out is you said, please don't consider a 4% or a 5%. And you know from sitting there and all these meetings we're about to go to and all the public is invited and we were told this year they're going to be right here. Every department, everybody, so you can watch them on Zoom or come up and participate. You know, we don't consider any amount in the beginning. There is no 4%, 5%. Everybody has to come in and justify. You have to look at what you have in reserves, and we are sitting in a really good position this year. And I'm looking forward to participating with you on those debates that we have every year with every single meeting. Thank you very much.
Take care, everybody.
So the other
Thanks,
thing
Cap.
The other thing I'd like to point out, and Cap, you already know this, but I mean, you don't really need to ask us to try to reduce it. I mean, you've been on this board. We're all property owners too.
Oh, yeah.
We want to not increase it, but we have to be responsible. As you know, you used to sit on this board as well. So during the budget process, we look at everything and we make the best decision that we feel is the best for all property owners, including us. So, you know, it's great you ask. I mean, that's great, but man, that's a question that doesn't need to be asked because we're always looking at that.
Good point. Okay, any other comments? So I'm at the point where the other portion of the agenda is up. Are there any other issues from the board? Carla?
I just want to share a little bit about Asian carp. We are scheduled for a full update at the August meeting, but there's been some occurrences lately that I want to bring you up to speed on. As you know, the commitment of the Asian Carp Ad Hoc Committee on this board and the board is to monitor and provide information so that villagers may stay informed and contact government agencies and elected officials to ensure that the issue stays top of mind. We have that opportunity right now. TVA is asking for input regarding the Asian carp mitigation project. You can use the link to the submission form provided on the TVPOA website under the News and the Asian Carp tab, or you can simply send an email to NEPA, N-E-P-A, @tva.gov. The deadline for public feedback is August 5th. What are they looking for feedback about? Well, TVA hosted a public information session on July 15th to provide a project overview of the Asian Carp Programmatic Environmental Assessment. The National Environmental Policy Act, which is NEPA, process was discussed, along with input from cooperating agencies through the decision tree process, various deterrent systems analyzed, and Asian carp as they relate to economics and recreation. So please visit the TVPOA website, follow the link to review their proposed barrier mitigation plan for the Tennessee River Basin. It's titled Asian Carp Mitigation Draft Programmatic Environmental Assessment.
That sounds like a government agency.
It is, absolutely. It is a very thorough document outlining the problem and the proposed mitigation efforts. Then be sure to submit your feedback before the August 5th deadline. Again, a link to the submission form is on the TVPOA website, or you may send an email to nepa@tva.org. As always, be sure to check the website for updated information and the Stop Silver Carp in Tennessee Facebook page. And as I said, the ad hoc committee will be giving a complete Asian carp update during the August board meeting.
Great, thank you, Carla. Anything else from the board? Any other items that the audience would like to bring to the board's attention?
Come on, Cap, one more time.
No. Don't egg him on. Okay, with that, we're adjourned.